Hi everybody, Jennifer Blevin-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about group contracts and reimbursement. I've gotten a lot of questions about making sure that providers are associated with group contracts and how reimbursement works and how the MPI numbers play into it. So I just wanted to do a quick video. I think this is a great topic. I appreciate all those questions. So we're going to talk about that today. So one thing you need to know is that if you have a group and you have an MPI-2 number and a tax ID number, then your contract with an insurance company is going to be under that facility with those tax ID numbers and MPI-2 numbers. That's great, right? You'll get your contract, it will say your company name, it might list your tax ID number and MPI-2 number. If it doesn't, it was on the paperwork that you filled out to initiate to get the contract for your group. And you will have all the ins and outs of your contract. I have other videos about how to review a contract and making sure that you're reading all of the fine print and understanding it before you sign it. So very important, check that out. But you want to make sure that although there may not be individual providers listed on that contract, you want to make sure that either with the paperwork that you filled out previously to initiate the contract, or with the contract might have come like a roster to fill out to put the providers that should be affiliated with that contract. A lot of people have this misunderstanding that if they have a group contract, any provider can work there and they can all bill out under the group contract and there's no issues, and that's not the case. Every provider has to be individually credentialed and vetted basically at the insurance company. And then once that's taken care of, they can be added to a group contract or multiple contracts. And when you bill for these services, you will have certain areas on the claim, and it will be set up in your billing system where you will have to put the appropriate tax ID and or NPI-2 number that's affiliated with the group, the billing facility address kind of thing. But it also asks for the rendering provider's information, and that's where the MPI-1 number comes in, and that's where the insurance ties the two together. So when they receive that claim, they will see that it should be processed under a group contract, but they also check to make sure that that individual rendering provider is associated with that contract. All providers who are listed under the group contract, the services get reimbursed exactly per the contract. So it doesn't matter if it's a PA or an NP or a doctor or a therapist. The contract will specify how things get reimbursed per provider. So you don't have to worry about that, but you would want to check and make sure that it is consistently being reimbursed correctly per your contract. And that's a different video about running financial reports and checking things. The providers listed under the contract cannot start billing for services to be reimbursed under that contract until they have an effective date of when they have been associated with the group. That's really important too, and that gets forgotten or people don't realize that. So you fill out the paperwork, you say we have a new provider, they're going to bill under this group, and they think everything's good once they submit the contract, but that's not true either, because the insurance goes through this whole process. They make sure they're credentialed, they make sure everything's up to date, they're willing to add another provider to your contract, and then they will let you know when you have an effective date for that specific provider. They shouldn't start billing until you have that effective date, and I have a video about that as well, so check it out if you have follow-up questions on that. So you want to make sure that not only do you have a group contract if you're billing out as a group, but you also need to make sure that those individual providers are associated with that group. And a lot of people get confused by that. You don't want to try to bill out with them individually unless that's maybe business model, because there are some places, and like the family practice that I worked for 10 years, It was a family practice building with one name, but each provider in that building billed under their own sole proprietorship. So they had their own business under themselves. They didn't have an MPI-2 or a group number. They just had their own individual businesses. So we billed provider A under his information, provider B under his information, and their money was kept totally separate. And then they had an accountant that would come in and put all of the monies together of things, supplies that were ordered, medications, that kind of thing, and then split it and decided based on different reports we would run how much each provider owed each month. And it was really messy, it was really complex, and honestly, I think just billing out under a group in a lot of ways is a lot easier, but again, everybody's different, everybody's needs are different, and whatever you prefer is fine. You just want to make sure that you have the right setup at the insurance company so that you don't get no reimbursement or less reimbursement. It's just really important because let's be real, it's a business and you need to make money in order to keep going. So if you have any questions regarding group contracts and providers under the group contract, please don't hesitate to ask a question or leave a comment below. Again, you want to make sure providers are individually added and associated with those group contracts, because if you don't and you start billing out services, that's where you're going to run into problems. Smash that thumbs up button if today's video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please share my videos with your colleagues and friends and anybody who you think would benefit from this information. And don't forget to check out my next video. I'm going to be actually doing a series on revenue cycle management coming up, which is the backbone of any practice when it comes to finances. So make sure you check that out. Thanks so much, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.